one of the deepest and oldest lakes in the world. Let's go to the proverb. A bird that doesn't fly will never know where the harvest is ripe. How would you interpret it?
Oh, how appropriate. Because the harvest is the reality of the options, not reality, but the options that you have. And sometimes when we look internally, we look too much inward. We forget that there are many things out there in the world which we can be able to learn about. And so I think what the proverb is asking us to do is that we must fly. We must be ready to venture. We must take risk. We must believe that not only our mothers are able to cook good food. You know, all of us were brought up to believe that, our mothers are the ones who cook the best food. As we go into the political season, one of the things you want to tell Kenyans is that it's not just somebody from their tribe or ethnic community who can make a good leader, as we've seen some people telling us. So I think that's how I'm looking at it. Know that there are better things and leadership can be offered by other people, not just because they are of your tribe, but because they stand for something that is significant, as something that is based on the values of our country.
Indeed. I mean, we're looking at political transition in this conversation, and we're a year and a half to the next general election, which is, a critical step that Kenya must take, because the 5 years then comes to an end, or 4.5, or whatever the case may be. But then others are looking to form alliances, form coalitions, but there seems to be a bleed. And again, when the doctor says, well, I can treat your pain and we can give you money today, or I can go to the source of the problem and make sure that you don't have pain again. Is Kenya ready to deal with the source of the problem as opposed to dealing with the top layer pain?
No, Kenya is not ready, and it needs to be prepared to be ready for doing what needs to be done. And that which needs to be done is provided for in our constitution. And so we have to take everybody back to the constitution. In Article 81 of the constitution, that is where the standard of how democracies conduct themselves, especially Kenya, is provided for. And I want to say that Kenya has been unable to hold an Article 81 standard of elections, which are free from 5 things. 81 tells us that elections must be free from violence, from manipulation, from corruption, from intimidation, and it must be an election that is conducted by a credible, independent electoral commission. And when you look at the kinds of elections that we do in this country, since the return of multi-party politics, none of them, everybody talks about 2002 and how it was a free and fair election. No, it is just that the gap between Mwai Kibaki and Uhuru Kenyatta was too big to bridge. Why was it too big to bridge? Because everybody in Kenya united to end the KANU regime. And so Uhuru Kenyatta was on the wrong side of history, and Kenyans rejected him because he represented Moism. He represented KANU, which Kenyans wanted to end. And so the gap became too big for KANU to rig, to bridge the gap. Otherwise, the numbers that we were given were not the actual numbers, actually. That's what I need to say, that we have been unable to hold a free and fair election since the return of multi-party politics in 1992. Are we going to meet that standard in 2027? That's the question that Indu has asked. Are we ready to actually go to the doctor and get the treatment? The answer is we are not ready. Look at our IEBC. does it inspire confidence? The answer is it does not, because when we conducted the last nationwide survey in all the 5,100 sublocations in Kenya, it's only 28% of Kenyans who have confidence in the IEBC.
Of a recent study?
This is November last year.
Yeah.
November last year is not far.
Yeah.
And it is just immediately, no, actually, that was just before the by-elections.
Yeah.
I think things have not improved after the by-election. Probably they are worse now than they were before the by-election, because the by-elections told us that IBC is unable to enforce Article 81 standard of elections. So institutions are what a country needs for it to get healing and to become well, as Ndu was telling us about the case in Hausa in Nigeria. So we are a country which has two fundamental problems. Number one is that none of the institutions in the public sector inspires confidence from amongst the people. The only one which used to inspire confidence was KDF. Until KDF is the only institution in Kenya which scores more than 50% of the people's confidence.
Really?
Only.
Yeah.
And the Ministry of Health during COVID. And the Ministry of Health during COVID. But now, the problem is that KDF was sucked into protest management by the government in 2024. And the government has refused to withdraw KDF from management of protests. So it is seen as a partisan institution, which is there to ensure that the government is not questioned by the people when it is involved in looting, in mismanagement of the education sector, of the healthcare sector, of the economy, of all that the government has been tasked to manage. So KDF has to be withdrawn from that kind of, so that it becomes an institution that can be counted on.
Cyprian, I will go back and tie my question with the proverb. Talk about the great harvest. The amazing things that do exist in a world where everything is working right.
Yeah.
Are Kenyans aware of the great harvest that lies ahead? If we have an IEBC that is working, if we do have a police that is a service and not a force, if we do have a crop of politicians who are there to serve, and translate that to that great harvest and abundance that Kenya would have if everything was just working right. Do we have an idea?
The answer is yes. When we voted for Mwai Kibaki in 2002, you remember we were voted the most optimistic country on earth. That tells you something. The people of Kenya believed in themselves, and they know the Kenya Bora Tuitakayo.
Yes.
What is the Kenya Tuitakayo? They know it is in stanza 1 of the national anthem, and it has 6 things. In Kiswahili, it is very beautiful. So, do Kenyans know what they possibly can become? They do.
Yes.
Are they working towards it? Not recently, not currently. What has happened? Because what has happened is that the institutions that they trusted have all of them failed them. So they now look at the education that they were believing in to give their children this promised future, and they can no longer see it. They used to have a reliable education, healthcare. It has been dismantled and been turned into a private enterprise for milking money from them, so that they are giving more to healthcare, but they are getting less than what they were getting 3 years ago. So Kenyans are not the ones to blame.
Yes.
They have been very faithful. But the people they have put in office have failed them. Look at Parliament. So the institutions, you go through the institutions, the judiciary, the commissions, the independent officers, the county governments. You saw yesterday county governors telling us that they will not appear before Senate. Until senators treat them the way they want.
Massage their egos. Yeah.
You must not. They say they don't want to be embarrassed,
or they don't want to be extortion. Some other
no, those are
big
allegations.
words. Yeah.
Me, I'm talking about actionable words. Because how do I know that you were extorted? Why did you bribe?
Yes.
Why did you give the senator money?
Yeah.
Is it because you didn't want to answer certain questions? So you can't tell the public that we are not going to Senate because we were people extorted money from. Why did you bribe? Why did you bribe the senator? Because if you don't bribe him, what will happen? What will he do to you? He will do what? He will ask you harder questions? That's probably what. So I don't want to take too much time, John. I want to say, Kenyans know what they can become. We do know that we are the best country on earth in terms of the hardware. Nobody has what Kenya has in terms of the minerals, in terms of the wildlife, real estate. Well, we have the best city. We have freshwater lakes. We have an ocean. We are not landlocked, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Then we have the best people. So do Kenyans know that they actually have the opportunity to become the best? They do. Are they frustrated and are they hopeless right now? They are hopeless because they look every direction and they can't see what to build on until now. It's their taxes that are being used, including Nyota, to bribe them so that they can be able to like government.
Let's open that up a little bit, Cyprian, because to then understand the why this may be done. And there are too many pictures in my mind at the moment in terms of what's going on. We see comments here sometimes. People say you're being extremely negative about the conversations that you have. But I don't know what to think when I look at a picture of a woman who is using her palm to get water that's seeping out of the ground. I don't know how to be positive about a teacher standing outside a window that's teaching a classroom that has 110 students in it. I don't know how to be positive about a situation where their children, we could say get in touch with nature, but they're learning under a tree for lack of a building. I don't know how to be positive about a man who kneels before his son in January 2026 and gives him his final 30 shillings and says, "Son, take this and let me go and see what I can do," and kneels down in the school compound to pray for his boy. I don't know how to be positive about those situations, but I know that it is the reality. Because yesterday, we had a conversation with Kenyans, and it was not in Nairobi. It was people from Kericho, Kakamega, Busia, Bungoma, Kajiado, Nairobi, Nakuru, Mombasa, who were telling us the same thing. Kenyans are not okay. So, this not okayness.
Who is telling you that you're negative? I don't want you to answer that. I want to take a guess. Because the first thing we ask Kenyans when we are doing the nationwide surveys, we normally have a set of questions. The first question we ask is, in which direction is the country going? 73% of Kenyans say the country is headed in the wrong direction. And the President Ruto is the one who is responsible. 64% say Ruto is the one who is responsible for that country going in the wrong direction. So, if you look at the people who are saying you are negative, you will realize that these are people in government, like the governors, who do not want you to say that they are mismanaging lives. So 73% is saying the country is headed in the wrong direction. President Ruto is the one who's responsible. 64% believe it is him who's responsible for the country heading in the wrong direction. When you look at the cluster of people who are saying you're negative, you are going to realize that these are people in government who depend on our taxes to live large, to live lives that are impossible. These are the people who are declaring that their wealth has increased. Like I saw one of them on TV recently, being asked, what is your net worth? They said they are 1 billion worth. 2 years ago, they were 600 million. So they have accumulated more than 350 million shillings over 2 years without setting up one single industry, one factory. They are not selling anything. They are just employees of government. But they have increased in terms of net worth by more than 350 million. You don't understand how much that is. Companies in this country don't make that kind of profit.
Yeah.
I don't want to name any. But listen, these are people in government. What do you expect? So what they're using in psychology is what is called, Dennis, gaslighting. How do you gaslight somebody? You tell them that their reality is not what they see. Their reality is not what they think. It is actually a different one. That's what President Ruto does. He comes and tells you, there's no problem in the education sector. It is you guys who are just being negative. But principals and school heads are telling us things are worse than you actually know. We take children to these schools. They don't have food. They don't have water. Even schools here in Nairobi, I don't want to name them, here in Nairobi, which have admitted 850 students to grade 10. Here in Nairobi, a girls' school has admitted 850. One has admitted 980 to their school. They have been told you must admit. They have admitted. But now they don't have water. They don't have electricity. Their bills have not been paid. They are told, you are just being negative. Things have become better than they used to be. Yeah. And they are saying, we've never lived this kind of life. So who is telling you are negative, Ndu? It is somebody in government who is stealing money. And that is why healthcare has collapsed. Education is in trouble, is actually in the red for the last 2 years. There are ghost schools, all right, which are receiving money from the education sector. President Ruto is not telling the country that the European Union gave us X number of billions of shillings to support education transition to grade 10. Where is the money? They don't want that to be asked. Oh, you guys are negative. So they are gaslighting you. That's what we call it in psychology. When you are the one who's living the life, which is very hard, you have not been able to take your children to school, you cannot even pay fare. Across this town, in the evening, people say, get me fare to go home. How I'm going to come back tomorrow, I do not know. The WhatsApp groups to support funerals, medical bills, school fees, rent in this country are innumerable. But you know who causes that situation? The politician, so that he becomes the only oasis in the desert. So the only people with money in Kenya are politicians. They are the people in government. And they're telling you, I mean, we are so generous. Why are you guys complaining? You're just being negative.
Yeah.
So gaslighting is the word for you. And should we now remain hopeless as we are? My answer is that we should not be hopeless as we have been, because we have an opportunity in 2027 to do the transition. What is the transition we are looking at? I'm looking at 3 transitions. The first one, which is fairly obvious, Dennis, is that we are going to the first election without Raila Odinga, without a statesman. So we may not actually have the glue that we used to have when we have disputed elections. And we used to have a statesman who could shake hands and give the country a chance to go on and probably improve in the next elections, we don't have Raila Odinga. We don't have Raila Odinga. That is a big transition in this country. The other transition is that we are trying to do a transition from KANU to the Gen Z. I use that because President Ruto was 26 years when he was in the YK 92. Financial ace, the looting that happened in YK 92. The Gen Z who are in their 20s now are where Ruto was exactly in 1992. And we are talking about a 35-year gap. Is that transition going to happen? Because unlike the YK 92 cluster, the Gen Z are saying they are tribeless, they are partyless, they are fearless, and they are also leaderless. When people tell you those four things, that tells you that there has been a mental revolution. Are we going to see that revolution? Are we going to see that political transition? What about politics that moves from personalities to institutions? Now that Honorable Raila is not there, Right Honorable Raila Odinga is not there, where we used to build politics around personalities, are we likely to see politics that transitions to institutions? Are political parties actually institutions that we can now trust in? And my answer is that we probably are not ready for that transition. So those are the three transitions that I'm looking at. Are we likely to move from the YK 92 kinds of politics to the Gen Z politics? Are we able to transit from the dependency of organizing politics around Raila Odinga to now politics beyond the Right Honorable Raila Odinga? Already we can see the state of ODM is political party. And finally, are we able to do transition from personalities to institutions? The institutions is what I've just described, that they are in a mess. And the Bible says, because this country is largely Christian, in Psalm 11, verse 3, the Bible asks, if the foundations are shaken, how will the righteous stand? Are Kenyans going to stand when the foundations have been shaken? That is the question for this transition. If you give me a minute, I wanted to reflect on that transition so that I talk about three things that I think are important to really give the country a chance to stand, even when the foundations have been shaken. The moral, the constitutional, the institutional foundation are shaken. I want to request Kenyans not to be packaged into the one-term, two-term binary that there is, because there is no promise or hope in those one-term, two-term binaries. The real thing that has moved Kenya forward, and I think that is why you invited me here this morning, is when Kenyans come together under 4 C's. That's what we did in 1992. The Citizens Coalition for Constitutional Change. Then we coalesced under NCEC, the National Convention. Then we coalesced under NARC, the National Rainbow Coalition. Kenyans only move forward when they put politics and the political parties aside and unite to defend their country. If we do not convene under the National Convention, the Citizens Coalition, we will not pass the test of 2027. That's the first thing that I want to request. We need to go back to the 4 C's, the Citizens Coalition for Constitutional Change. This time, probably, we need to call it the Citizens Coalition for Constitutional Culture, because we changed the Constitution. The second thing that I want to propose, so that we can be able to look at Proverbs 11:3, if the foundations are shaken, shall the righteous stand? The righteous can only stand, one, if we do coalition. We coalesce as citizens without looking at our tribes. Secondly, we need to roll out a nationwide civic education network of citizens so that we can be able to ensure that elections are not rigged in 2027. Let me tell you this so that you understand why it's so important. There are only 3 places in Kenya where the presidential elections are rigged. Dennis, I don't know whether you are ready for it. Elections are rigged in Kikuyu Central Kenya, they are rigged in Kalenjin Rift Valley, and they are rigged in Luo Nyanza. Those are the only 3 places where election. How do I know?
And what does that mean when you say this, Cyprian?
I'm saying it very directly so that people know where we are going. David Ndii, Dr. David Ndii, this one who is the advisor to, I don't know whether he's still the advisor because the court said he should stop. But in 2007, after the election was rigged, we set up a situation room at Pan-Africa Hotel in Nairobi. And David Ndii showed us something that was profound. He told us that if the turnout for MPs and the turnout for the presidential candidates does not agree in that constituency, that's a rigged constituency. That's how we knew that Kibaki had rigged in 68 constituencies and Raila 16.
Because the outcome of members of parliament did not match the outcome of the presidential vote.
So the presidential was higher for Raila in 16 constituencies than the turnout for MPs. And for Kibaki, the rigging happened in 68 constituencies. The turnout for MPs is the only sure turnout in this country. Not even governorship, not even senator, not even women rep. If you want to know the people who physically went to the election day, look at the MP turnout. It cannot, because the MPs watch each other like this. They can lose an election with 7 votes, with 11 votes, with 700 votes, with 400, like Mbeere North. So they don't allow rigging. That is the only true factual turnout that happens in this country. So if we want to stop, I've been hearing people saying, oh, foreigners are going to register to vote. No, it is not possible. This is something that is done. It's called PSYOP, to tell you that you can't beat the president. The actual election, if you go to even Northeastern, where people are saying that, you can rig elections in Northeastern. If you go to Lagdera, or you go to Fafi, or you go to Mandera North, the people who vote for the MPs can never be more or less than those who vote for the president. So you can't have 17,000 turning up for MPs.
And they didn't vote for
And then you have people who turned up for the president are 69,000. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
So let everybody know that 2027 is not riggable. I came here to restore hope. That's what you asked me to do. What's the roadmap towards 2027? Number 1, form the Citizens Coalition for Constitutional Culture, safeguard your country. Number 2, use that citizens movement to secure the vote. First of all, register all the voters who have not been registered, ensure turnout, and watch the vote. Any constituency where the presidential turnout is higher than the parliamentary turnout, that's a rigged election. And that is why we go back to institutions, IBC and the Supreme Court. Know that the 2027 election is being watched very carefully. And who gave us the formula? David Ndii in 2008, January. Thirdly and lastly, let us ensure that the issues remain the center of the conversation towards 2027. What are the issues? President Ruto is the only student who marks his exam. He has already marked his exam.
He's done a stellar job.
And he has already passed every subject that was in the manifesto of 2027. But I have certain news for him this morning. Last year, I was contracted by one of the religious umbrella bodies to do the report card after 1,000 days of Ruto's presidency. 1,000 days was May last year. I was contracted, and my firm was contracted to do that. Let me tell you that Ruto's performance, according to his manifesto, is 4 out of 10. But his performance against the Constitution, those are two different things.
Yes, for sure.
There's the marking scheme called the manifesto, and there's the marking scheme called the Constitution of Kenya. There he gets 2.8 out of 10.
In terms of following the Constitution and the rule of law.
We took him to court, and I came here and I told you we had taken William Ruto and Gachagua to court for violating the Constitution 31 times. That was in 2024. The count has gone on. We are now at 38 times. Violation of the Constitution 38 times. I have not even counted the UDA meetings in State House. Which is a violation of Article 131 and 132 of the Constitution in terms of what State House is supposed to be used for. That is in the Constitution.
Sure.
Yes, the functions of the president, there are 10. So, if Ruto believes that he is the only student who marks his exam and says, I have passed.
Well done.
Wait for the teacher to mark your exam. Who is the teacher? The voters.
Yes, Kenyans.
Kenyan voters are the teachers. They are going to mark the exam. So let the issues stay in the middle. But the two things that have destroyed President Ruto's presidency, in fact, there are 4, but let me talk about the big 2. The biggest is what we call the social sectors, education and healthcare. Those are the only things you should not interfere with. And he managed to interfere with both education and healthcare. Those ones touch every single household in Kenya. You can't hide it. You know, there are things you can hide. But education and healthcare, you cannot. So, if you ask Kenyans right now, more than 84% of households in this country are unhappy about healthcare and about education. That's the first thing. The second thing that has to be an issue in these coming elections has to be the economy and employment for young people, particularly. How has the economy fared on under William Ruto? It has been a disaster. He insists and gaslights us that the economy has done fabulously well. Let's give him credit that yes, he has stabilized the shilling, and that he has ensured that, you know, apart from the stabilization of the shilling, what it's about inflation. It's factual. Those two have, in fact, if it was not for those two remaining stable, we would be dead right now. But as the interest rates gone out of hand, have more companies closed down, as the cost of electricity gone up, as the cost of doing business become rampant, as corruption gotten out of hand. That's how the economy works. The economy is like a girl. If you are a man and you want to seduce a girl, and you are hurting her, you are violent, she will run away. The economy can only be seduced. You can lie about it, but it knows whether this man loves me or he does not treat me well. And this economy has not been treated well, and it is not creating jobs. Industries have closed down. More younger people are, and the taxation has been increased. It is painful. So this little relief of those who want below 30,000 is not going to fly. It is not going to fly. So those are the 3 things that I wanted to suggest, that we look at education, the social sector, we look at the economy, we look at diplomacy and security. And finally, we look at institutions of governance, whether they have been better or not. Let's stick with those 4. The education and health of our country, the economy of our country, security and diplomacy, which we've done very badly at. This morning in your newspapers, you are seeing that Kenyan guns are being used to kill Kenyan youth, Kenyan families. There is something about William Ruto's government that any problem is shot at. You have a problem with Gachagua, tear gas everybody outside. You have a problem with the Maasais in Kilgoris, Transmara, fighting about their land. Go in and kill everybody who's there. The young people have issues to raise with you, the Gen Zs. What's the problem? Kill them. So this using Kenyan guns to silence Kenyans is going to be a major problem. What about diplomacy? We know where Kenya is now in the East African region, in the African region, and globally. We've made so many blunders everywhere I go to in Africa. I am told Kenya was our hope, but you've messed it when it comes to Pan-Africanism. You've sided with the wrong people in Sudan, in DRC, everywhere in this region, we are in trouble. And so we were told that Tanzania was the quarterfinals, and that Uganda was the semi-final, and that Kenya is going to be the final next year. Let Kenyans look at these three things for us to safeguard our country from collapsing. That's the roadmap.
That's the roadmap, and that's the what we're taking steps on. And then I struggle sometimes with the connect between understanding these things. I almost hear you saying that some of these things are by design. That if you want,
all of them.
If you want to depress a society, and I'm not talking about depressed in how you're feeling, but depressed in to keep it underfoot, that you attack these things that you speak about. You attack the education.
And healthcare.
You attack the healthcare, so that people are in a constant state of beg.
Yes.
And that's why we see the WhatsApp groups. We see the Harambes all over the place. Of what benefit, then, is it to keep people underfoot?
No, because then you control them. People you can't control are very difficult people to even lie to. But you see, once you've taken away people's essential needs, they become desperate, and they only go to the one who can be able to help them at that moment, who happen to be the politician. These guys have been flaunting the kind of money they give to churches, because churches, the people in church are unable to give even tithes. So clergy have to turn to politicians to come and give money. And they are getting a lot of it. How much are they giving? They are now giving 20 million. I saw 50 million.
Yeah.
And that is how they want to be praised. You know, you've been seeing these people moving around with money in churches. Why are church members unable to give offerings and tithes that can be able to do projects in those churches? It's because they are unable to treat their sick. They don't have food, they can't pay rent, they can't educate their children. So they are unable to give tithes and sadaka. So what do? Call in the politicians so that they can bring in the big money. And we are going to elections. Here in Nairobi, which is my county, we see what happens every Sunday. You saw Ruto and Sakaja. You steal from us billions, then you go and give millions. And then we clap for you and we say you are the one who actually has come to take us to Singapore.
God.
One would then ask, today Kenyans are accused, or rather are blamed of voting in this government. You know, it is your problem. You're the ones who voted for this man. How then in 2027 can Kenyans, in retrospect, look at the things that they've gone through, the taxation, unable to treat your sick, unable to educate your children, and make the connection and ensure that individuals they're putting into office are the ones that will make us realize that dream? Because that is important. Like even IT do say, garbage in, garbage out. How do we then vote people who reflect our aspirations and our visions as Kenyans?
Actually, Raila Odinga used to say poison in, poison out. Especially when we were doing the constitution, he was saying that you cannot put a little bit of poison inside water and say, just drink. Just a little bit of poison. You don't do that. So your question is actually very specific, and it is very important. Kenyans, you are blaming victims. You are blaming victims. Kenyans are the victims of the leadership they put in place. They are not. We are blaming victims. I am running for the governorship of Nairobi.
Yeah.
It is my responsibility, if I want a better Nairobi, to organize Kenyans in Nairobi. That's what Kivutha Kibwana did in Makueni.
Yeah.
He didn't leave it to chance. He actually organized them from villages to ward councils and committees to the constituency, what is called sub-county committees. If you do not organize Kenyans, and it's there in Section 99 and Section 100 of the County Governments Act, if you do not mobilize Kenyans and give them civic education, you then cannot blame them because they don't have the ability to read the budgets, to read the constitutions, to read everything. People are... It is the responsibility of leadership. And in political science, we say that every country as it is talented tenth. There's a group of us who have been organizing this country and we stopped doing that. That's why I started with saying we need to go back to what worked. Kenyans didn't just vote out KANU. We organized them. The religious and the civil society. We organized Kenyans across the country to actually do the right thing. So this time round, let us stop blaming Kenyans. If I am in Nairobi, let me take responsibility for Nairobi. That's what I am doing. I am organizing in every polling station, in every ward. We have 85 wards. We are organizing people's committees and councils so that they are in charge, like in Nuruma. We are working with the social justice centers. They are all over Nairobi. We are working with the residents' associations. We are working with churches. We are working with mosque committees so that they take responsibility of the area they are working in.
Right.
We cannot be seated here blaming Kenyans for voting the wrong people. We must take the responsibility of organizing them, civic education, and giving them the right people to vote for. If you leave Kenyans to choose one thief out of 10, and then you blame them, that you people, you actually elected thief number 6 and not thief number 3. That is why we tell people, don't blame Kenyans. Organize and offer them the right leadership. That's why I'm running for governorship.
Yeah.
That's why in the 17 constituencies, we are going to field clean, ethical, competent leaders, servant leaders in all the 17 constituencies, and we are going to field the right people in all the 85 wards. And I have taken charge of Nairobi. We are working across the 47 counties under what we are calling the Citizens Coalition for constitutional culture. Let us not blame Kenyans. Let us take responsibility. Let us be the adults in the room and stop blaming Kenyans. Let us be the adults in the room.
So, do you think that, it's clear that you say we have these problems, and that's where we started from, and saying these are the issues that we face. And there's a lack of connect between then those issues and then what good leadership and proper governance then will actually do. Is this the way to now make the connection? Because I often do feel, Cyprian, that people have competitionary issues. That when you think about governance and you say, okay, I should be involved in what happens in my little community, but I am also worried about what my children are going to eat today and how they will go to school, and I have this sick person. It's a dilemma. So how do we say, okay, well, you can do that, but if you did have this good governance in place, these issues, you wouldn't really have to worry about them as much as you do at the moment, because more or less, by and large, they would be sorted. They would be sorted out. How can we bring people to that place whereby we're saying we can understand that it's tough, the pain that we talked about? You must go through this painful thing in order to achieve where it is that you want to go. And people all around the country are bleeding this. And I'm still referring to our conversation from yesterday.
Yes.
People from all around the country are bleeding. How then do we say, okay, guys, take that pain and turn it into a purpose? How do we do that?
by convening the People's Convention, the Citizens Coalition.
Yeah.
We can't do it any other way. And Kenya is one of those African countries that have been fortunate because we have used the Citizens Convention model to actually bail out the country, not once, not twice, more than 3 times. And people talk even about NAC. NAC was not formed by political parties. It was formed by civil society. At NCEC, we registered NAC for the politician. I can disclose this. We used William Mutunga's law firm in Westland to register. That constitution of NAK was written by Kibwana. We don't leave things to chance. Don't leave things to chance. These politicians are too selfish to think about saving Kenya. These people in the United Opposition, these people in North, they are focused on control and power and money. They are not interested about Kenyans. So let Kenyans come together. Let us operationalize Article 1 of the Constitution, the sovereignty of the people, and let us operationalize Article 3 of the Constitution, that it is Kenyans who have to protect and safeguard the Constitution. Under a convention, in all the 1,450 wards, in all the 290 constituencies, in all the 47 counties, a people's convention is the only salvation that this country is looking for. Not political party campaigns for people to win seats, for this party to have more seats and this one to have more seats. Not ethnic power, but the national agenda and the national interests can only be safeguarded by a people united who can never be defeated. How do we do that? We convene the National Convention, which is available in all the 290 constituencies and in all the 1450 wards in the country. And we have a leadership that is not competing for politics. The National Convention always must be headed by people who are not seeking political office. That's what we have done through the years. In fact, in 1996, the Citizens Coalition was headed by Bishop Ndingi when he was in Nakuru, and Bishop Ntamburi, and William Mutunga, and Jael Mbogo. These are people who are not running for office. They take responsibility for uniting Kenyans into a convention, which then does the civic education, which does agents, which does election monitoring the police, ensuring that all the institutions work, and which even goes to meet with the Supreme Court and tells the Supreme Court that you cannot be a Supreme Court which uses language like this is a hot hair, and we need the adults in the room to lead the people of Kenya to form the convention. That's our hope. And then ensure that the right people run for office across the country. We need to do vetting and say this person cannot hold office in the Republic of Kenya.
And stand by it.
It is the convention which does that.
Cyprian, obviously, these are conversations that we need to continue. It is inclusive of you running for Nairobi governor, but it's also exclusive of that as well. For this very heartbeat that Kenyans need to move to the place where the consciousness has risen to the point whereby it's clear that something needs to be done, and how you vote then makes all the difference based on information and education. We want to thank you for being here with us this morning. There are already calls to continue this conversation into the next hour, but hopefully we can do it another day.
We can do it another day, but continue. Let Nairobians register to vote in Nairobi where they live. A lot of Nairobians register to vote outside. Yes. We are saying they must register to vote here. That's where they live.
Register to vote where you are.
Where you live.
He is the convener of the Kenya Bora Twitakayo, as well as Nairobi gubernatorial aspirant in the next election, Cyprian Nyamwamu. Thank you for joining us this morning, and we look forward to the next one.
God bless you, Ndu. God bless you, Dennis.
Bless you too. Thank you. It's 8:01. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Behind every headline is a heartbeat.